Before we get started, I wanted to say something about this episode as a whole. This one is dedicated to Wazaran Sensei on Twitter. He was someone who really loved and cared about Haruka and really wanted to see her grow and develop as a character over time. And unfortunately, earlier this year, he passed away. Before his passing, he did have a whole bunch of scheduled tweets that he wanted to go out at certain points in time, just because he knew he was going to pass away, that when I see them, they definitely make me, and I imagine a lot of people, think about their life as a whole, and how precious life is. Try to, cherish the moments that you have with the people you love and the people you care about. There was a situation that happened recently with his account that is kind of shitty, but we're not really going to get into it that much. But regardless of that, this is dedicated towards him and to Haruka. I just hope that, I did him proud with this. This meant a lot to me to get it done properly. I hope you guys really see that with everything I go through with this gun. But with that, let's get started. On this episode, we're going to talk about Haruka's shotgun of choice. The one that she uses in-game is the FABARM's SDASS. It's an Italian-made shotgun. But interestingly enough, all the videos I see about her are in Russian for some reason. Mine in particular is a Black Aces Tactical 12-gauge shotgun. I think it's like the Tactical Pro or some shit. I don't really know exactly the name of it, but it's basically a Turkish clone of, a standard shotgun. As always, we're going to talk about the similarities and differences and the battle animations that she has. We got a nice purple color here right on the stock and on the pump grip here, with a little detail of gold trim on the stock as well. Her butt pad is different. It's not this shape in particular, but since mine is like this, I decided to keep it as is. I didn't want to change it up that much. When it comes to the sights, mine is a little bit longer than hers, but it's got the spikes, which I think really sell this shotgun, as Haruka's, because there's not a lot of weapons in the game that have spiked details on them. And I'll talk about the ones on the barrel as well in a second. But the silver, spikes on the sight really put the shotgun together as a whole when it comes to the sight, at least. With that, we also have the rear sight. I actually took out the little aperture ring here just so I could use the optic. The optic's not really that good, as you'll probably see in the firing footage. I took it off at one point just to be able to shoot clays and stuff with it, because it does wobble a decent amount. It is an airsoft one, so it's more for the looks than the accuracy, if anything. And honestly, I could also just look through the sights with it on there, but at the time I decided just to take it off. During said firing footage, actually, since these are only, glued on there, when I shot it, every single time I shot it, more and more spikes would just fall off, and I just lost a whole bunch of them in the grass. Another big thing about her shotgun is very noticeable is the spikes on the barrel here. These are actually just little DIY foam cones that I found online. They looked like this originally, but I actually cut them down to size. They're not exactly the most straight things in the world, but if you're not looking at it dead on, from the sight picture, they don't look crooked, so we'll just go with that. Right here on the trigger, we also got that nice little purple color. It makes it pop a little bit more in that area since there's a lot of black in this, general sector of the gun. Moving back to the stock again, we got, actually, these are just little rubber bands that I got on Amazon that really put this part of the stock together, because she has that X shape here, and I think it makes it look 10 times better, to be honest. They don't really serve any functional purpose other than just the design, but I think they look fantastic on here. Another thing, as you can see, the bolt is actually the gold color. It's like a yellowish gold, and I think I got the color as close as I possibly could with the paint that I had. And yes, I actually did paint the bolt. This very, very light coat of the gold surface here. It doesn't interact with the receiver in any way, shape, or form, so it's not going to scratch off anytime soon, so I'm really happy with how this turned out, actually. And directly next to that, you can see the Gehenna sticker right there. This took one extra try. I did have a sample. I haven't done the project in a while, and so when I went to my sticker place, I accidentally forgot to make this a transparent sticker rather than a white background sticker, and so I had a white background sticker that didn't look very good on here. So I decided to spend the extra 30 bucks to buy more stickers to actually make them look right. I also increased the size a little bit too to actually get that effect where, as you can see at the top here, it kind of creases up that's how it looks on her shotgun too in game. So I decided to make it look as best as I could. The final similarity that they have is on the other side of the shotgun. There's not very many references to this, but she actually has 4 smaller triangle-like style pieces, more like stickers, on this side of the pump grip. There's only like 1 or 2 references of this, so I'm really glad I was able to find those and actually replicate them on this side of the shotgun. It's always really interesting when you look at the other side of the guns. They don't really have that much detail, but when you can actually find, you know, references of it, it's actually really cool to be able to replicate that as best you can. Try to keep it as authentic as you possibly can, right? If you guys have been enjoying this episode so far, please make sure the claymore is facing towards the enemy and hit the like, comment, and subscribe button. But with all the similarities out of the way, we only have one major difference between mine and hers, and that is the tube extension here. So hers in game, well, in real life, it's supposed to be a 7+1, so 7 in the tube plus 1 in the chamber. So I'm supposed to have a +2 extension here. The one that I bought, unfortunately, does not fit onto this shotgun. When it comes to like Turkish shotguns, it's really hard to find exactly what tube extension works well, and I already spent the 50 bucks on the other one, and I couldn't really figure out which one it really was, and the company that sells this shotgun doesn't sell their tube extensions separately for some reason, because they're weird. So I decided to avoid that. That is the like only difference between mine and her shotgun, and I'm really, really proud of myself to, you know, actually make this shotgun look as close as physically possible. I do eventually want to get a tube extension for this to be able to, you know, make the look perfect, but for now, with money and everything, I'll just accept that loss and not have that tube extension for now. Now, let's talk about her animations, and god damn it, do I have a lot that I want to talk about. First and foremost, my whole thing with her shotgun being semi-auto versus pump action. The reason I thought it was semi-auto is because, especially in her EX skill, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, she fucking pumps that thing so fast. Like, when you play at 3x speed, it looks like it's semi-auto. It really does, because she is just wailing down those, from what I can count, 9 rounds, which isn't particularly right, downrange incredibly fast. The first 2 just go bang, bang, and then the rest are just bang, 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 bang. It's like, Jesus Christ, relax. With that out of the way, like, one thing that's really interesting that I've noticed with her skill, or her animations in general, especially since she was a release character, when she shoots her shotgun, she pumps it forward, which doesn't really make all that much sense. Well, as you can see, it starts in the rear position, which is perfectly fine, for some shotguns at least. And hers in particular is built that way as well. But when she shoots it, she pumps it forward and then back to the rear position. That's not how that should work, especially for her shotgun. I've watched many videos about what her shotgun is based on in real life, and it doesn't work like that. It does have it has like a spring attachment to it where it will come back on its own, so you can pump it back, and if you let go of it, it will fling back forward. Most of the time it's just all manual. But regardless of that, it shouldn't pump forward and then come back to the rear position. Her shotgun, when you pump it back, it's supposed to cover the, you know, ejection, well, not the ejection port, but the loading gate, and come back and then go forward, all the way forward. That's how it's usually supposed to look. But for some reason, Haruka decides to push it forward and bring it back. And I think that's really interesting because her being a release character, I feel like the devs at the time had a general idea of how a lot of the guns worked in real life, and they kind of just thought that that's how Haruka's worked, because it's a little bit different than some shotguns where it covers the entire loading gate. But I think it's really funny and goofy at the same time that, like, out of all the shotgun characters in particular that have a pump action shotgun, she does the whole thing where she pumps forward and back. It's supposed to be back and then forward. So I always thought that was really interesting, but hey, it works. So when it comes to her reload animations, she loads 2 in with her right hand and she's good to go for, it should be 7 rounds. One interesting thing to note about her chibi model is that shotguns do have a generally stronger impulsive recoil for some people, and depending on what type of load that she has in her shotgun. Like for me in particular, during a lot of the firing footage, we use birdshot and clay pigeon, you know, loads as well. So those are generally lighter loads and didn't really have that much of an impulse. What I assume is what she's probably using is double-aught buck, just to, you know, do more damage to, you know, her opponents and stuff like that. That usually has a little bit of a harder impulse when it comes to recoil. It's interesting seeing her jolt back a little bit every single time she shoots, because she is taking the full impulse of that shotgun shell into her shoulder, essentially. Now, on to the goofiest thing that she does, her EX skill. This is, I mean, as I explained earlier, the weirdest thing about her shotgun. She just fucking lets loose. And I think the really interesting thing about it is that, as I was saying about with her pumping forward, in her EX skill, the first 2 shots that she actually takes are animated properly. As you can see, she pumps it back and pumps it forward into that, you know, position that she had it in originally. They did it right there, so I don't really know what happened with like her normal animations where she decided to pump it forward first and then back. I think it's funny with the inconsistencies of that, and at the same time I think it's weird, but it's also just neat that they, you know, they mess it up like that. But like continuing on to her animation, like I said, she just fucking wails down. At least when it comes to her shotgun, it should hold 7 shells in the tube. In her EXL, she shoots 9. I don't know if her shotgun in particular is supposed to have 9, but if it did, in this case, at least in my case as well, the tube should be just a tad bit longer. And it's interesting, you can actually see the shotgun shells fly out this time around, and they are yellow shells, which I'm not entirely sure if there is a particular ammo type of 12 gauge shells that are that yellow color. But with all her animations out of the way, let's move on to the conclusion. To conclude this episode, I want to say I'm really, really fucking proud of myself of how well I was able to make this shotgun look like Haruka's. Out of all the guns I've done so far, this is the most accurate out of all of them. There's bits and pieces wrong with each of the other ones that I've had, whether it's, you know, the bolt being wrong, and that's obviously not my fault, with the Mosin not having the right optic for Sari's rifle, all that other stuff. Like, each of them have their own quirks that aren't exactly right, but I'm just really happy that the only thing wrong about this shotgun is the tube extension. I'm just really happy with how this turned out. It's probably one of my favorite ones that I've done so far. It took a lot of effort to get it to where it is now, but I'm really, really proud of myself and just happy that it turned out as well as it did. I had some major hiccups along the way, and obviously it's the most heartfelt project I've done so far. And lastly, thank you guys so much for watching. Wazaran Sensei, thank you for your passion for Haruka as a character. It really pushed me to make this for you and, well, for her as well. Thank you for making the people you did interact with laugh and, you know, enjoy their time in the community. I really hope I did you and Haruka proud with this project. With that being said, I've been your host Bridge, and I'll see you guys in the next one.